when you read the, for lack of a better term now, Google memo, the Google engineer memo, I have read a lot about you and I haven't yet seen your reaction. So what did you think, Melinda?
When I read that Google memo, I didn't know whether to be sad or to be outraged. And I think the sadness came first, the sadness to see that kind of point of view, and the outrage to see that we're writing about women in this day and age. And then I didn't speak out on it because I thought enough other people were. And I thought, you know, Susan Wojcicki's piece I thought was incredibly strong. From right inside the company, and her personal view on it and how she thinks about it through the lens of a mother also and her daughter's eyes. To me, that was the most pointed piece, and nothing else needed to be said from me. There wasn't anything else I could add to that.
So it's as if you read my list of questions, because my next question, when I read that piece, I read it more as a mother than a journalist, because she starts out and she's and remember, she runs YouTube inside of Google, right? And she responds with an anecdote about her daughter. Yeah. So her daughter comes up to her after this is all the buzz and says, "Mom, is it true that there are biological reasons why there are fewer women in tech and leadership?" And she ends it by simply saying, no, it's not.
No.
Did your children come to you, ask you about it?
Not that specific one, but look, we talk about this stuff at the dinner table all the time. My kids are probably sick of me talking about it in some way. I remember one of our spring breaks where we were away as a family, it just kept coming up over and over again. And interestingly enough, driven by a conversation about my son and his friend, my son Rory, who is now a senior, but at the time was a sophomore in high school, and his friend who is going into this industry. And we had so many conversations with he and his friend and my daughters around this topic. So you could just say it's in the ethos in our house and in the water. And do you know who first gave me the article when it first came out about that Google memo? Was my husband. He said, "Make sure you see this."
What did he say?
He said, he basically said, "You're not gonna believe this." And we leave articles, sometimes we forward articles to one another on email. If we're on a vacation, sometimes we leave it out. We were on a trip together, and it had come out, and so he literally left me a Post-it note because he was flying off somewhere else and said, "I think you're going to want to see this." And then, of course, we talked about it on the phone that night. I just couldn't believe it.
And he couldn't believe it.
No. I mean, Microsoft's trying to do all the right things. I've talked to Satya many times and the senior leadership at Microsoft. Just in the last year, I actually went out and spoke with a group of women about how well is Microsoft actually doing on this, because Satya is so deeply committed, the CEO, and the company, they know that, but how are they actually doing? I think he and many others want to get at these issues and make changes, and I think it's going to take all of us, and I think it's going to take the leaders speaking out. And quite frankly, not just leaders in the industry, the VC community also needs to clean up its act, and senior leaders in that community need to speak out and need to create change.
Perhaps because they are not public companies, they don't have the name recognition
right.
as a Google or a Microsoft, they get a little bit of a pass on it, do you think, Melinda, in the headlines?
Sure. And I think that shouldn't be. I think we need more transparency in that industry. I think they also fund what they know. And so today they know male, white, Caucasian, in a hoodie, looks like a geek, comes from an Ivy League or equivalent school. I mean, that's their funding criteria. And I think you could probably have some pretty more wide funding criteria than that. We know that in the VC companies where a woman is partnered, is on the partnership team making investment decisions, she has a hard time if she's alone. But if she has another guy with her or another woman who also wants to fund women-led businesses, she's twice as likely to fund a women-led business. So we need to change, to be honest, the pattern recognition.